Some of these images that we're seeing for the very first time show the staggering size of last summer's devastating Jasper wildfire. A year ago today, several fires sparked with the town in harm's way. What followed was seen all over the world as buildings burned and livelihoods were lost. But 1 year later, regrowth and hope for the future.
Good evening. Residents impacted by one of Alberta's most destructive fires in history are pausing to reflect on a moment that forever changed that community. They gathered today in Jasper to mark that anniversary of the wildfire, as many are still working to rebuild their homes and their lives. And we have special coverage tonight throughout the broadcast as we share rescue stories and look at how the community is recovering both emotionally and economically. And we start with Aaron Chalmers anchoring our coverage from Jasper. And Aaron, an emotional day for so many in that community, as it was 1 year ago today, thousands were evacuated.
It's hard to believe, Nicole, that it was 1 year ago that this town was in panic. I mean, look at it today. The sun is shining. There are tourists and residents going up and down the street. Stores are open. The streets are packed. But as you said, it was 1 year ago that a wildfire came here, and it was tonight, a year ago, that the evacuation would have happened. Now, today the town hosted a special commemoration ceremony marking that 1 year anniversary of the wildfires. We will get to that in just a moment, but before we do, it is worth turning back the clock and turning it back to this time last year to get a sense of the chaos and how lives really were turned upside down in an instant.
July 22nd, 2024, late afternoon. Following weeks of bone-dry conditions, 3 separate wildfires ignited near campgrounds to the south of Jasper. Wind gusts merged these into one, the so-called Jasper Wildfire Complex, producing flames towering 50 meters tall. Late that night, evacuation orders were issued, forcing 25,000 people to flee Jasper National Park. July 23rd, a staggering number of resources are called in. Hundreds of firefighters, water bombers, bulldozers, and a Black Hawk helicopter. By the afternoon, the wildfire complex raged 12 kilometers from the town. A short while later, the town had been completely evacuated, with hundreds still needing to be rescued in the backcountry.
In the last 24 hours, it has progressed so much. It's raining ash.
Wednesday, July 24th, early afternoon. The fire is 8 kilometers from the town, but immense wind gusts upwards of 100 kilometers an hour push the flames closer. By 6:40 p.m., Jasper was aflame. Over the next few hours, roughly a third of all structures in the town would be burned to ashes.
The pain that will be felt almost defies description.
I texted my landlord and he got back to me saying it was gone. There was nothing there. Got to rebuild my entire life, right? So.
Over the next few days, the flames in the town died down and were extinguished, leaving rubble behind. In August, the evacuation order was lifted, with many returning to see their destroyed homes for the first time.
And to those in Alberta and around the world who have experienced the magic of Jasper, the magic is not lost and it never will be.
Since then, all orders of government have mobilized to restore the town in the wake of one of Alberta's most devastating wildfires.
Now, as mentioned, many events have taken place during the day today and throughout this whole week to mark this somber anniversary. One of the events that we were invited to attend was the commemoration ceremony that took place earlier this morning, pardon me. Hundreds came together to reflect on what happened, but also talk about the steps forward as this town continues to rebuild. Officials from the town, Parks Canada, the fire department, along with residents gathered for the event. The key message is the town is starting to recover. There is a lot more work to do, of course, but this community will get through it together.
Our stories are not solely about strength and resilience. They are also about sorrow, loss, and feeling overwhelmed. As we reflect on what we've experienced together and individually, it's normal for those feelings to come to the surface. We don't have to face them alone. We have our friends, our families, our community.
Now, although this evacuation was a success, it's important to note there was tragedy during the firefight. 24-year-old Morgan Kitchen was killed after a tree fell on him. He was honored at today's event along with all of the other first responders who were here 1 year ago. Now, from acts of heroism on the front lines to daring backcountry rescues, when the fire hit, many people jumped into action to save lives, to save the homes here. And today, many are reflecting on those moments that stick with them 1 year later. Our Morgan Black has more on that.
A high-stakes helicopter rescue in Jasper National Park. But Caitlin Belrose's group had no idea they were in danger until they were thousands of feet in the sky.
The mountains are huge, and then this fire is like bigger.
They were on day 2 of a scorching hike and heading directly into a wildfire.
Behind the scenes, our friends were calling 911, telling everyone to go get us.
Caitlin was one of hundreds of people rescued from the backcountry during the July 2024 fire. Timothy Johnson says wildfires added a new layer to routine rescue missions.
The high winds, the smoke, the lack of visibility, the multiple aircrafts flying around as well.
The team had to push what was happening back in town from their minds. Members would discover they had lost their homes.
They were putting other people's priorities first. I guess that's why I'm so proud.
The hikers landed and took a bus back to the now evacuated town. Caitlin was one of the last people to see the area before the fire hit. She remembers thinking,
it can't happen. It's too special.
The fire, described as monstrous, destroyed about 30% of the townsite. Fire Chief Matthew Conti remembers a pitch black sky.
We started seeing and hearing trees snap and fall over.
8 members, including the chief, lost their homes that night. Conti saw his house catch fire, crews pulling out of the area to try to save the rest of the town.
A tough decision knowing that, your house was on fire, but there was absolutely nothing we could do. We had a larger purpose at hand.
The team was entirely focused on the fight. Conti says the mental anguish that followed came in the quieter moments.
There were tears from the majority of the members on the department at the time, especially the next day when we started realizing the overall loss to the community.
It's the community and first responders that Caitlin thinks of when she reflects on the fire.
The people who saved me yesterday, today their home is burning down. That's what sticks with me till now and makes me really emotional. I'm just so grateful.
Morgan Black, Global News.
Well, a wonderful story there of the heroism, just one of the rescues that took place a year ago. As we turn our attention now to the rebuild, not just of that community, but the economy as well.
Tourism is, of course, what supports many families in the community. So, Erin, how is that sector doing a year later?
Yeah, Nicole, I mean, this town cannot survive without tourists. That's just a fact. Fortunately, it is a destination that is absolutely picturesque and that tourists want to come to, and it still is even after that fire. Our Jasmine King has more on that.
On a summer day in Jasper, tourists line the streets. Restaurants and shops are packed. Along the town's main street, things look normal. The burned landscape is easier to see from the trails, busy with visitors like the Clarks from Indiana.
Gorgeous, absolutely stunning, except for what we saw with the wildfire. Very sad to see.
The Clarks learned more about the wildfire on their way to Jasper, but were told not to ask locals to relive it.
Not to mention it, not to say anything. So we know they haven't shared with us, so we haven't asked.
But some locals do want to share, arguing the wildfire changed too much here to be ignored.
Yes, there is loss, but there still is so much.
Kimberly Stark is the owner of Bear Paws Bakery. The business, a staple in the community for 28 years. The bakery was unaffected by the flames, but the volunteer firefighter watched her home burn.
I take my daughters, we go to our lot, so that we're still familiar with it being our neighborhood. And I had a little cry the other day.
There were electricity and refrigeration issues here. To get it completely back to normal took 352 days. However, Stark says that hasn't mattered to visitors. After the wildfire, she got thank you cards from longtime customers.
warms your heart. That's amazing that they recognized us and that we make a difference. It's just coffee. We're not saving lives.
And that impact is obvious. Visitors eager to show Jasper their appreciation.
We haven't been here in a few years, but every time we come it's busy and it's just lively and I don't know, it's so nice.
But Stark worries if tourist love will carry on when support is needed most.
Summers, it's easy, right? Because people come to Jasper, and they are. We can see that now. What about winter? What about next summer?
For the Clarks, what happened 1 year ago was difficult to imagine.
Until you get here and see the empty lots where homes used to be and all the charred trees.
It was more than Jasper's beauty that stuck with them. It was the heart behind it.
The fact that they have bounced back the way they have is really testament to their resiliency.
Stark hopes that resiliency will keep the streets busy. Jasmine King, Global News.
Now, being here in Jasper over the last year, and especially over the last couple of days, there is no question that Jasper feel is here amongst the tourists. But unfortunately, that isn't necessarily the case for residents. Many of them are still waiting to find out when they are going to get on that path back to normal.
Let's go back to Aaron now as we continue our anniversary coverage of the Jasper wildfire.
Aaron, the rebuild, obviously such a huge, important part of this story, and so many families are really still waiting to get that process started.
That's right, Scott. A year later, and many have not been able to get construction started. There's also families that are still looking for temporary housing. Now, our Morgan Black has been here, and Morgan, you've been here following this story for the last few weeks, talking to a number of residents here. You spent a great deal of time learning about the issues that they're facing and that the rebuilding that the town is going through.
Yeah, and most people describe the process as slow and frustrating. I mean, you drive through town, you can see there are not a lot of new builds happening, particularly in that area of town where the fire most directly impacted. People say that could be because they're waiting for soil testing, Parks Canada permits, or insurance claims. And the town of Jasper argues this is just kind of part of the deal when such a large disaster hits inside a national park. Now, before we get to our next story, we wanted to take you back to the path of that fire. You can see just how fast things move towards town. 3 fires all starting in different locations. Within hours, the fire merged until one single wall of flame began moving north toward town. And when that fire got close to town, that's when the ember showers started. And they sparked fires in the vegetation, on people's lawns, on people's roofs. We went on a tour yesterday with the fire chief, and he says that the crews had about 20 hours of active time fighting those fires before they were overwhelmed. People in town say they understand the devastation, but because it's taking so long to rebuild, it's also taking a long time for them to heal.
Nails going in and walls going up. 1 year after the Jasper wildfire, this home is one of the first to be rebuilt, but most remain as empty lots.
The absolute catastrophic loss of everything that we collectively have owned and spent our years building up.
The wildfire destroyed more than 800 housing units, including Michael Wasita's home. But that's not all he's lost.
We are all dispersed. I don't know where some of my friends are. I don't know what their kids are doing.
It's hard to miss the temporary housing units throughout town, but demand outweighs supply. The town's Doug Olthoff says they had 700 applications for interim housing.
We would definitely benefit from more interim housing, and we're working on doing that. We're in the process of bringing in additional housing units.
The town says just over half of applicant households have received interim housing. Those who were not selected face imperfect solutions, like a 2-hour round trip from Hinton every day or camping indefinitely.
What makes this a disaster is that it's not a problem that we can just solve.
Costs and land, both hurdles. The town boundary means there's a limited space for interim housing. Nearly all the land available is being used.
We have to make very difficult decisions about where we make the offers first.
The town plans to add an additional 150 housing units, like the space beside the museum. Olthoff expects full recovery to take a decade, but wants people back in their homes within 5 years. Lindsay Gardner is a housing advocate. She feels things are moving in the right direction, but argues insurance is tying things up.
there's been so many different situations that you hear locally where people are not getting payments or they're having these really big struggles. I don't think it's unique to Jasper. I think that's a broader industry problem.
Wasita plans to rebuild, then sell. He says there's too many memories in his old lot, and some things can never be recovered.
You spend a lifetime developing relationships, collections, destroyed in a matter of hours. The loss is just gut-wrenching.
So you heard those talks about insurance concerns, and the Insurance Bureau of Canada says it wants to have a broader conversation about how insurance and rebuilding is handled throughout communities. It's asking for the federal government to work with the province to better improve rebuild efforts. It suggests a federal coordination agency to guide that recovery. Many Jasper residents have noted delays in permits and insurance, and the Bureau says only 15% of building permits have been approved, but it points to tie-ups elsewhere.
It took about 3 months for Parks Canada to develop a new recovery process in the community. Following that, there was a very complex debris removal process installed, and most recently we now have soil testing requirements that go above and beyond anything we've seen elsewhere in this province and certainly this country.
The Bureau says the frequency and cost of rebuilding continues to grow. We asked Minister Jason Nixon today in Jasper what he thinks about the idea of a federal coordinated response. He points to the provinces. He says that might be better served because they are responsible for the municipalities, except of course for here in Jasper, which is inside a national park.
And that really seems to be one of the biggest issues when it comes to the rebuilding and everything else, is the fact that we are in a national park. Thank you so much for that, Morgan. Scott, Nicole, we will be back a little bit later in the show to talk about something that's really uplifting that's opening here in a few days in Jasper. A way to look back and to hear from residents about going through this fire and how things are a year later.
Well, as we all know, nature is such a big part of Jasper as people flock there to take in the quiet, serene environment.
Yeah, but after that massive wildfire, there's a pretty stark contrast to that natural sights that many people are used to. Aaron Chalmers stopped by a popular campsite in Jasper.
We're here at the Whistler's Campground here talking with Dominic. Dominic, thanks for chatting with us today. So you've been here for 3 years in a row, is that right?
We were here, yeah, it's third time since 2018 we're here.
So what was your reaction when you pulled in this time?
First thing in mind, it looked like Mars. It was, I was overwhelmed with what I saw. It was mixed emotion because we love Jasper so much. It's still beautiful and everything, but all the trees burned down, and the house, we were in town yesterday, and like a neighborhood went out in flame. There's nothing else there. There's like the basements and everything, but that's it.
So, I mean, I see there are some empty campsites besides you. I would imagine in the past you didn't see that.
No, it was pretty packed. Even if we came in early in the morning, campground was packed with people. It was people were walking around or going for hikes or activities. But it's like in the morning, it's like this now. You have more people in the evening, but in the daytime, it's what you see.
And so for you, being that you've been here before, is this experience still as incredible because you're still in the mountains, you're still in Jasper?
Yeah, for sure. We love the Rockies. It's an experience just being here. It's bigger than, I don't know, bigger than nature. But yeah, it takes a toll on us seeing all the burnt trees and the forest gone. But what we're happy with is going back. So obviously it's going to come back as beautiful as it was, or maybe better than that. Better than it was before.
Even more beautiful. Yeah. So will you continue to come back here? Will you continue to support Jasper and the town?
Oh, for sure. We'll be back. I don't know when, but for sure we're going to come back, maybe take retirement plans for the Rockies probably in a few years from now. But yeah, we'll be back.
And you would recommend it to others to come?
Please come to support the community. They need the people. They need the tourists, they need the money, obviously, so it could flourish again and be greater as it was before.
Perfect. Thank you so much for talking with me today.
My pleasure.
Well, there was plenty of provincial representation at Jasper today, with Ministers Todd Loewen and Jason Nixon both in attendance. As the Social Services Minister, Nixon has been highly involved in the provincial housing solutions in that community. The Minister of Forestry, though, believes there was excellent collaboration between Alberta Wildfire and Parks Canada during the response. This follows the review commissioned by the town, which found that the province got in the way of the fire response. But Loewen says the report missed the mark on noting that collaboration between the two groups. Meanwhile, the Social Services Minister says there should be more provincial involvement on rebuilding homes in Jasper.
There are other ways that we can invest through municipal affairs, bringing in other municipalities to support that work. And again, I think that the National Park should look at how we would do things like soil testing in other fire communities that are not in a national park to see if we can speed it up.
Meanwhile, Nixon says the province can only come in to help if they are asked.
Also today, the official opposition weighed in on that report commissioned by the town of Jasper. At a news conference in Calgary, Alberta NDP leader Naheed Nenshi took aim at Premier Danielle Smith. The report surveyed frontline firefighters and other officials to determine ways to improve future responses. It determined the province's interference disrupted the focus of fighting the fires. Nenshi says Smith should have accepted the report.
When she was told that there were these mild criticisms of what happened there, she didn't accept the feedback. She got really angry. She lashed out. She insulted the experts who wrote the report. She insulted the town of Jasper. She insulted the people of Jasper, and she demanded an apology.
Nenshi went on to say that the UCP government should be committed to working with partners and communities to prevent future disasters.